thought, okay, now we've quit our amazing paying jobs and we are starting something new. It should at least lead to $100 million of revenue opportunity, right? If it's not $100 million revenue opportunity, then there is no point taking all the stress. That's when we saw that there are in India there are about 100 meaningful lenders, right? When I say meaningful, lenders with volume, and if they are not paying $1 million each, there is $100 million market, right? You need to be adamant that you have to win, right? But you should not be adamant on the approach. I'm assuming that I'm going to live for 70 years. You have 3 lakh hours, and my only priority is not to have 1 hour wasted. If you're not building the largest company, be a part of someone who is building the largest company. Like that is my one more thing that I want everyone to say. Be ambitious. India needs ambitious founders.
Welcome to Chasing Impact, six sectors shaping the next decade of humanity and the people building in it. I'm your host Shreyas, and today I have with us Ananth Shroff, founder and CEO of DPDzero, one of the leading collection technology platforms in India that is helping some of the largest banks and NBFCs revolutionize the way they collect with empathy. Hey Anand, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you here.
Absolutely, likewise, Shreyas. Looking forward to this podcast today, and hopefully, a lot of people get to learn something out of this.
Indeed, I'm sure, Anant, and thank you so much for taking out the time on a Saturday afternoon and doing this. It's been crazy here in Mumbai, and I think you told me you were here in Mumbai just yesterday and flew back to Bangalore. So I absolutely appreciate just getting up after right after the day you traveled and starting to do this. And yeah, thank you so much once again. What I really kind of want to talk to you about, and I think probably we'll get into that, is the approach that you guys have built at DPDzero in terms of collecting with empathy, using and leveraging technology, right? So that's really interesting. While a lot of collection-based startups are there out, I think this is probably one of the more unique approaches that I have seen. Having said that, before kind of diving into the business side of things, I think we both are super excited to talk about it. Let's take a step back, and I would love to I'd love for our audience to get to know you better. So, while you have had an illustrious career working with now like building the DPD0 piece, and before that working with Setu and probably leading some of their prime initiatives. And before that, I think you were working with ClearTap and a couple of other orgs. So, would love to hear from you a bit about what your journey was in our first segment, that is the founder story. So, over to you, Anand.
Awesome. I mean, while you were saying this, I just went back to 2015
Mm-hmm.
on how I was when I was in my college. Um, Graduated from computer science
Mm-hmm.
uh, in Bangalore
Mm-hmm.
from this university called PESET,
Mm-hmm.
and this was 2015. And I grew up from a proper middle class family, right? So my mom used to work at SBI, and she did work at SBI for over 26 years.
Wow.
She very recently retired,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad was a part of many companies, private sector. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they had this one goal, right, that my son has to become a software engineer, right, and has to get into a software company, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that was their goal. So that's how I was grown up technically, right? And as I graduated, I got
Mm-hmm.
placed in this company called HP.
Mm-hmm.
This was through campus,
Wow.
and I started going there, and the first 2 months was basically all about the training, right? So back then it used to be like training. You get placed, and then you train for a bunch of months, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're sort of put on any projects, right?
Right.
And at the same time, one of my classmates um, got into a startup called
Mm-hmm.
XL, right?
Oh, it's totally, yeah.
That was in 2015, and they were a very young startup in
Mm-hmm.
Indranagar, in this typical startup 2 BHK apartment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he had so many interesting things to speak about. Every time we met over the weekend, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I had absolutely nothing to speak, right? Because I was like in a boring, large organization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's when I decided that that is not for me, and I wanted excitement in life, right?
कुछ
And
इंटरेस्टिंग चाहिए लाइफ में करने को.
interesting, right? And that
Yeah.
I was 21, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm boring and startups. And he used to say that, people come in shorts and it's like so cool. And we go out for beers and we're talking business and all of that. It's like so much exposure. Shivku used to sit right next to my friend, right? He was the
Mm-hmm.
CEO. He's like the CEO sits next to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decided to stop going where I was going and joined Exotel. I think that was one of the greatest moves of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was the first top 25 people of Exotel,
Mm-hmm.
the early 25, and I was the second sales guy, the third sales guy in the team, and we had this one clear thing, right, that to go beat all the competition and sell everyone in the country, right? So a lots of learnings from business got like schooled from Shivku on startups, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you sell, who do you sell to, very interesting things that we learned for the first 1 year. And the next 1 year I spent some time in Indonesia. So Excel decided to expand, and Indonesia was a country, and I don't know how, but Shivku decided to send this 22-year-old boy to Indonesia to start their new business.
Oh wow.
I was fortunate to be his go-to guy, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in Indonesia, launched their Indonesian business. Um, yeah, and then did a bunch of stuff at CleverTap. I was at CleverTap for a very brief time, and then Unboxed. And
Mm-hmm.
finally at Setu,
Yeah.
right? Setu, Nikhil and Sahil co-founded Setu, and Nikhil used to be my first manager at
Oh.
Hotel. So then,
Okay.
at one day I get a call and he says, Ananth, it's time to do whatever we did at Exotel. Now at Setu, I've raised some money. You have to come down here, right? So the same day I resigned.
अरे वाह. Nice.
Because he's like one of my mentors even right now, and the
Mm-hmm.
first person to call when I'm in any crisis. So it's very important to have a person like that in your life. Um, so of course I resigned, showed up at Setu, and Setu was a whole different experience, right? The,
Mm-hmm.
the two companies that I'd worked at before that, right? It was all in 1 to 100, 1 to 10 or 10 to 100 journey. There is a
Right.
product, there is a market, there are customers, there is CVP, all defined, pricing,
Mm-hmm.
everything defined, right? You have to just accelerate. But at
Right.
Setu, it was very different, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
there was a pitch deck that said how India is going to change,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there was $3.5 million in the bank, right?
Right.
And then Nikhil and Sahil just gave me this very high level vision on how we are going to accelerate the economy of the country and how we make every app a fintech app. And then
Mm-hmm.
they're like, we have $3.5 million in the bank, so you go and figure out what needs to be built, right? So I think that was such an awesome experience. The 3 years at Setu,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I worked very closely with NPCI. NPCI wanted to launch the
Right.
non-utility categories, and we partnered with NPCI. We
Mm-hmm.
partnered with all the merchant acquiring banks.
Mm-hmm.
We built the stack for the banks and got banks to acquire over 20,000 odd merchants in the next 18 months.
Wow.
Uh, I think close to about 15 million monthly transactions that were moving through that network, and close
Mm-hmm.
to about $1 billion in GTV, right? So it was an awesome journey there.
Amazing.
So that's the 3 years of my life I think I'll never forget. I
And
was
probably
also a
these zero to
founder.
one journeys are what kind of shapes your entire perspective going forward, right? They kind of have a larger than life impact compared to what anything else that you have done.
No, absolutely. It's also about, see, I don't consider myself as a first time founder.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was a founder already at Setu, and like BBPS was my product.
Right.
That's how I always look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my second time, right? And it's also about who do you work with, right? So Sahil and Nikhil at Setu, right? So they had like immense. They'd given us immense freedom that
Mm-hmm.
like, you own it and you do it, right? And you're responsible for outcomes,
Right.
good or bad, right? I think that was the real deal, right? And a lot of people don't get that, because a lot of my friends even today, right? So it's always about the right time and the right environment that you're there, right? I feel Setu was that for me and my co-founder Ranjit. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I met my co-founder, the current co-founder Ranjit.
Okay.
Uh, he used to be the guy building the BBPS platform,
Mm-hmm.
and we had already worked very closely with each other for the 3 years at Setu.
Mm-hmm.
So we generally had that chemistry
The
of,
founder fit is already there.
yeah, I was the guy bringing the insights from the market,
Mm-hmm.
and Ranjit was the one trying to figure out how it needs to be built. So together we co-owned BBPS to a bigger extent, right? So it was already there. Um,
Amazing.
that was the half of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and post which we got acquired by Pine Labs.
Yeah.
And post that acquisition is when Ranjit and I decided, look, I think we have done 0 to 1 and 1 to 10, and now is the time for us to go ahead and do our 0 to 1, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how DPDzero happened. We didn't actually go behind a problem. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing that we had was we are going to do a startup, right? And we had very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Ramnathan, who is now the co-founder of Hyperface.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, he was the first guy to write a check. I
Oh
still
wow.
remember we wanted to validate our idea, and we said, you know what? I think the lenders have a problem with collections, and we feel that we have to build a software. And the
Mm-hmm.
only question he asked was, "Are you guys serious? Are you going to start up?" We said, "Yeah, we're going to start up for sure." And he said, "How much should I write in the check?" Right, and that was our first investment. Ram gave us 40 lakh rupees
Mm-hmm.
in our first investment, and that was a great deal. We were like, "Oh my god, someone already wrote a check!" And he said, "How much? How much money do you guys want to raise?" And we said, "Like $4 million, probably." And then he says, I still remember those words, "Why do you need so much cash?" Right? All you
Mm-hmm.
need is 500K to prove a concept, right?
Yeah.
And I'll get to the 500K. You just start building, right? And that's how we got into DPDzero, right? So, uh,
Amazing. So
yeah,
later on, you kind of zeroed in on exactly how and what you are going to build, but you had a fundamental problem in mind that you want to solve for when you kind of started off.
yeah. Fundamental problem is because we had launched that loan repayments category on BBPS,
Mm-hmm.
right? We had onboarded close to about 200 odd lenders on that category, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was very excited that they got this opportunity to collect their EMIs. So until then we had no idea that
Mm-hmm.
collecting EMI was a pain, because we are like super prime customers, right? And
Yeah.
we have mandates registered, and where there's always surplus cash in the bank account, so you don't even
Mm-hmm.
know when the EMI hits,
Yeah.
right? But we are like the 1% of the country,
True.
right? The 99% is not having surplus amount of cash in their bank account
Mm-hmm.
every single month, right? And
True.
that is where the pain area starts for all these banks.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't know of that in that depth. We just knew that the bank was using one channel, BBPS, to collect, but they had 100 different channels. And banks being banks, um, all of these are running in silos. We just thought that there's a great opportunity if
Mm-hmm.
we consolidate all these collection channels onto a single software that can be run by intelligence, right? So you're just reducing the operational chaos,
Mm-hmm.
which automatically increases the efficiency. Hence, it should make collections better, was the only hypothesis that we had when we thought of this idea, right? And to be honest, we never did any market research, market analysis. We were just like, is the problem there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll sort of think about all of that in the
And
future.
then you'll see what kind of makes it most like what solves it the most. Right? You try a bunch of solutions, see what fits, what works the most, and then you kind of optimize and go in that direction.
Yeah, and when we started DPD
Mm-hmm.
Zero, we had a very different hypothesis, right? So we said that we're going to build this software, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we will sell it to all the financial institutions, and they're going to use it internally and make things happen, right?
Yeah.
Which was a completely wrong approach.
Mm-hmm.
um, of two things, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is there is a big friction
Right.
of introducing a new software into the bank, right? And there is like lots of operations happening in the bank, right, for
Mm-hmm.
collections, right, from a pre-bounce customer, which is before the customer has defaulted, to a customer who's written off. There are hundreds of processes running on a portfolio, right? The friction was very high. Number two, they were not ready to pay millions of dollars. Right,
Right.
that was my bigger problem that I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we thought, okay, now we've quit our amazing paying jobs
Mm-hmm.
and we are starting something new. It should at least lead to $100 million of revenue opportunity, right? If it's not $100 million revenue opportunity, then there is no point taking all the stress, right?
True.
So that's when we saw that there are in India there are about 100 meaningful lenders, right? When I say
Mm-hmm.
meaningful, lenders with volume,
True.
and if they are not paying $1 million each,
No
there
one
is
else
a
is gonna pay.
$100 million market, right?
Exactly.
So that is when we decided, look, I think this is not going to work, right? We have to pivot. Where
Mm-hmm.
is the spend happening then? That's when we saw that the market was spending about $5 billion. So back then, when we saw about 40,000 crores
Mm-hmm.
uh, in getting collections done, right?
Mm.
Not on the software, but to get
The
collections
agencies.
done, right? The agencies,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they did not want software. They wanted someone to come and say, I'm going to own the outcome, right? Don't
Right.
worry, you chill, right? I'm going to take the outcome and give it to you, right?
Mm.
And they're ready to pay for that, right? That was our aha moment. Our
Mm-hmm.
first customer, I still remember, we were trying so hard to convince one customer to pay at
Mm-hmm.
least $20,000 an annum, right, as
Mm-hmm.
the ARR or ACV,
Yeah.
right? And our first customer on this outcome based model paid us 20,000 ACV, or like close to about 14 lakhs, with all happiness, right? Without us asking for it. They're like, oh, your first check is 14 lakh. You guys did great. You should do more collections, right?
Wow.
I'm going to give you more portfolio. Um, so I think that's the like a pivotal moment, and
Mm-hmm.
the journey of, I think, anyone who gets started, right? No one has a very clear thing on where do you get to on day zero, right?
Right.
Only when you sort of get into the forest and you start understanding the landscape is when you'll fine tune your idea. Um, and ever since then, we have just like not stopped it at all. It's outcome, and we just go crazy on outcome.
Amazing. I think that is really really inspiring, to be honest, to hear in such uh, for a lack of better word, such candidness on how essentially you kind of started, how you pivoted, and how essentially you kind of realize कि नहीं ये कर रहे थे वो पूरा का पूरा गलत था. This is essentially how it should be done, and this is what people are actually going to pay for. And it's really very less prominent. I mean, it doesn't surface that much, but a lot of startups fail at that point when by the time that they realize कि यार इसके लिए कोई pay नहीं करेगा और उसके लिए करेगा, they are out of funds, either they have burnt out or either the founders have themselves burnt out, and they kind of are like ठीक है चलो छोड़ो अभी. And that is where like most of the founders, most of the fintechs kind of fail, and surviving through that pivot and becoming what you are today, I think, I mean, hats off. uh,
So what I feel is a lot of founders in that phase, right? I think you need to be adamant, but less adamant to feedback coming from the market, right?
Mhm.
You need to be adamant that you have to win, right?
Right.
But you should not be adamant on the approach. In fact,
Mhm.
Vaibhav from Better Capital, he gave us that understanding. Ananth, you are solving for collections, right?
Right.
You're not defining what company should solve for collections, right?
Mhm.
It can be a software company, it can be an ops company, it can be an AI company, right? But
Right.
collections is the problem that you're going to solve. So do whatever it takes to solve the collections problem, right? That was the feedback given to us, right? And market giving feedback. Market is not paying you for software, right?
Right.
These are market giving feedback.
Hmm.
Now, if you're adamant on the approach, then the probability of success is going to be lower. Is, I think, what I generally feel now, that when I speak to a lot of founders who have thrived faster
Hmm.
than us, but who have not at all made it even to the stage that we are at, that's
Hmm.
I think fundamental difference is
Makes
how I
sense.
see it. So always be open is what I sort of tell myself. Be open to all feedback, right? And if you're open to feedback, you'll also get feedback, right?
Yeah.
And that's when things can be much more better.
Perfect. No, I think that really makes a lot of sense. And having said that, let's take a step back and talk a bit about how you managed things on your personal front, right? Because a lot of founders, when they leave their job, सबसे पहली बात होती है कि यार वो सैलरी तो छूट जाएगी, अभी हर महीने घर कैसे चलाएंगे, या हमारा जो हर महीने का जो लाइफस्टाइल है वो कैसे मेंटेन होगा. So what do you have as an advice for people who are at that stage wherein they're stuck thinking कि how do you manage that?
Um, um, my wife, right? So I was just married. 2020 is when I got married, and
Mm-hmm.
2021 end is when I quit. 22 is when I started, right? So it had been about 1.5 years since I was married.
Mm-hmm.
Good part is I got married very early.
Yeah.
I got married when I was in 26. I was 26 or something. 26,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, One is, if you're married, right, your partner has to be 100% aligned of you
Yes.
taking risk, right?
True.
And she is very conservative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am very pro risk.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's the first part. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to start the startup before getting married, but if you're married, your partner has to be like 100% aligned.
Mm-hmm.
You that freedom to
Yeah.
start, and I feel I was very lucky there. And two, um, we just had an exit from Setu,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was some cash in the bank as well, right?
Right.
How I look at it is that I think you can take all the risk if you have anywhere between 24 to 36 months of runway in your bank account, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the only two vectors that I looked at. One, my wife was like super encouraging, so she
Mm-hmm.
said, if you're going to do something, do it now, right?
Yeah.
So that was a great encouragement. And she works at Moengage.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, I'm going to continue to work because I love my job, so you
Yeah.
don't have to worry. So there's money in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and you have this kida in you that you have to do it, so you better do it now than later, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing. And secondly, see, I think your family should never go into stress, right? Like that's the one thing that I want to make sure.
True.
If your family is happy,
Mm-hmm.
you can take all the stress, right? You cannot have an additional stress of family. Then you can take less stress on your like business, right?
True. True. True.
Fortunately, that is one part that I've gotten really right. Keep
Mm-hmm.
your family very happy so that you can do all crazy things on your business. So
Perfect.
that's the balance you need to find. Because see, 3 weeks I'm not in Bangalore, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to maintain that balance,
Yeah.
right? Because the family should not feel that you're like not even there, right? When you're there, you give them 100% of your time. When you're not there, you're not there because business is also the priority, right?
Yes.
So that's how I find balance, right? Like be 100% there when you're there.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Thanks a lot, Anand. I think that's really inspiring as well. And having said that, I think this kind of brings us to the close of the first part, the founder story. Thank you so much for sharing the amazing journey that you've had. But before we kind of move on to the next segment, I'd like to close this with three don'ts from you for budding entrepreneurs out there who are listening. Three things that they shouldn't do.
Don't start up because your friends are starting up. Right? That is number one, right? Don't start up to chase valuation.
Hmm.
it's a treadmill, right?
Yeah.
You'll get burnt out, and that's not the right game to play at all, right? Because I feel you need to enjoy every single day, right? So when I wake up, right, so my wife always asks me like, how are you like this, right? So you work while you're sleeping, and then you wake up and you work, right? That will only happen when you love it, right?
True.
So valuation revenue is all secondary, right?
Hmm.
I look at it like this, right? Last time when I measured, you have, I mean, at least my age
Hmm.
minus, I'm assuming that I'm going to live for 70 years. You
Hmm.
have 3 lakh hours.
Right.
Okay, there's 3 lakh hours, and my only priority is not to have 1 hour wasted, right? Wasted is like you not thinking about it, you're being unhappy, all of that is wasted, right? Every
Makes
hour has
sense.
to be like super exciting, right? So that's my like second thing. Don't chase valuation. Um, and don't lose the balance also, right? So mostly, a lot of the founders that I've met, right,
Hmm.
they get too worked up, right? So they get too worked up, right? Because they've like stopped having this balance, right? Work life balance is like a very different definition according to me, right?
Hmm.
You work and then you also not work, right?
Yeah.
You do something else. So start that from day zero, right? Not when you like hit a point where you'll have to take a U-turn.
Hmm.
Start from day zero.
Makes
uh,
sense.
16 hours of work is okay, right? But remaining, you need to do something where you're going to re-energize yourself, right? So for example, what I started doing, I started painting,
Hmm.
right? Like, believe it, I've never painted in my life, right? Because someone told me
Hmm.
that the left side of your brain
Yeah.
is your artistic or the creative part, right?
True.
So now I'm like, can I train my left part of the brain, right, by painting? So I randomly paint on Sundays, right? So 3 hours
Hmm.
on a canvas, oil paints. It's just like you're doing something, you're not thinking, so you're giving your brain enough room to regenerate, right? So I
Yeah.
feel, find your kicks, um,
Hmm.
and keep doing it so that you don't get burned out.
Makes sense. Perfect, Anand. I think that is really brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm pretty sure the audience out there who's
And I
listening to
also add
this,
one more, I really want.
please, 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 by all means.
Don't be less ambitious, right? So I think, um, ambition really defines if you're going to make it or break it, right?
Hmm.
Problems are going to come in business. Life is not like a straight line, right?
Yeah.
That's an employment, right? But when you're in business, it's ups and downs, and the frequency is very short, right?
Yeah.
um, the only thing that will help you get out of that is
Hmm.
the ambition, right? That you have to be ambitious, that I'm going to make it happen, right? And this is going to be the largest. If you're not building the largest company,
Hmm.
be a part of someone who is building the largest company, right? Like that is my one more thing that I want everyone to say: be ambitious. India
Perfect. No, I
needs
think
ambitious founders.
definitely, definitely. I think that really is super important. अगर कुछ बना रहे हो तो यार कुछ उखाड़ के दिखाओ या at least aim for that. Otherwise क्या ही कर रहे हो यार? If you're aiming for mediocre, then rather do your job.
Our Indian parents have always taught us that, right? Beta, 100% lena hai, right? Like
Yes,
100% you aim, right?
100%
And you
marks
will get
लेके
to
आओ.
90.
वो थ्री इडियट्स वाला जो डायलॉग था 99% लेके आओ तो घड़ी वरना छड़ी.
So it's like that. We are trained like that from birth. So I think we need
True.
to use that in the right place now. That's it.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much. I think Anand, that was amazing. Thank you so much for the conversation. I'm sure audience is also gonna love it. Having said that, we'll quickly take a short break and come back for the part two.